Traveling for work, so audio-only version today. There was good, there was bad, and there was downright ugly in Bill Belichick's college football coaching debut. I know that the final score and the way that it might all have shaken out might look like there was not any good, but there actually was. There legitimately was good. The first initial drive of the game for North Carolina went really well. Marched right down the field and score. And I think that if you saw the reaction on social media, it was pretty swift from folks that said, like, oh boy, North Carolina's got a national championship level offense. This is a smashing experience for Bill Belichick. And then the wheels fell off. But there were some things that happened in that drive that, and early in the game, that I think are the good of North Carolina hiring Bill Belichick. And if you're a longtime listener or viewer of the show, you'll know I'm not a believer in Bill Belichick working out as the head coach of North Carolina. I think it's going to be a failed experiment. I would be shocked if it lasts longer than a year, to tell you the truth. I understand the idea of trying to win the press conference, draw attention, notoriety, etc. But we've done the whole 33rd NFL team. Arizona State did it with Herm Edwards and brought in a bunch of NFL guys, and it didn't go well at all. And I think this experiment isn't going to go well at all either. But there is good. And the good, I think you get to see from North Carolina having a staff full of NFL guys. And this really came up when it was discussed about Matt Patricia and the Ohio State defense. Was Bill Belichick is used to preparing for the likes of like Peyton Manning and Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes and some of the best quarterbacks who have ever lived. So the idea that the starting quarterback for TCU, and not just the quarterback for TCU, who played really well, by the way, any quarterback, any offensive player on the North Carolina schedule this year, the idea that the North Carolina coaching staff is going to go, oh man, I don't know how we're going to guard that guy, is non-existent. They have prepared for the finest players in the history of the sport at the highest level. So anybody on North Carolina's schedule isn't going to be that big of a challenge. That's the good. The bad is that there is a distinct difference in calling a game, both offensively and defensively, in college than in the NFL. And for just one anecdotal example of this is in the first quarter, North Carolina shot themselves in the foot just a little bit and found themselves in a 3rd and 13. Well, 3rd and 13 in college is we're going to run 4 verticals. We're going to try to push the football down the field, or we're going to try to get a screen pass, and if that we can bust it for 13 yards, hell yeah. If not, we'll go ahead and punt it. Well, North Carolina just ran a stretch play into the boundary on 3rd and 13, got 3 yards, and punted the ball away. And that's the bad of bringing in a bunch of NFL guys to coach up a college team, because in the NFL, if you're 3rd and 13, you are virtually screwed. Nobody's really trying to push the ball down the field on 3rd and 13, because that's when bad things happen. That's when you stub your toe that much worse and make a bad situation even worse. So I get the idea of, hey, we're just going to mitigate our losses and try to punt the ball away, play the field position game. In college football, anybody can screw up on any given play. That's part of the beauty of the sport, is that people will just absolutely boot the football at any given time. They'll just make a really poor decision, or they're not good tackling in the open field, or whatever the case may be. So you take the chance to try to pick up the first down on 3rd and 13 instead of play the super conservative, live to fight another day, don't compound your mistakes NFL football. Like, there's just drastically different styles to that. And I don't know that the coaching staff in North Carolina understands that, gets that, etc. And so that, to me, is one of the bads. There are a flurry of potential bads that you could have in a situation where you just get absolutely curb stomped from about the middle of the first quarter on, where it was not really even much of a game after that. But the idea that you're going to show up and the idea that you're going to show up and out-scheme somebody time after time after time isn't, whether fair or unfair, realistic, unrealistic, whatever the case may be, isn't true. Because in the NFL, you have to out-scheme everybody, because the 11 players on the field are going to do the correct thing and do their job roughly 95% of the time. In college football, that percentage is not that high. Even the best players, whether it be offense, defense, special teams, the best players in the country are going to screw up a decent amount. So it's not as scheme reliant as much as it is dialing up the right thing at the right time, or understanding your opponent's weakness, understanding the strengths of your players. Now, there is an argument to be made that when you run a stretch play into the boundary on 3rd and 13 in order to punt the ball away, that you understand the strengths, or maybe more importantly, the weaknesses of your players. And that's not a bad thing as much as it is just a byproduct of the situation. But I think that there's just a difference in philosophy, that there aren't many college lifelong coaches, especially on the offensive side of the ball in today's game, that look at 3rd and 13 and go, that's just a play that we have to run before we can punt. I think the overwhelming majority of college football play callers today say 3rd and 13, all right, this is what we got to do, because we need 13 yards, instead of let's just survive long enough to punt the football. Because there just aren't that many football programs, brands, head coaches, etc., that view that situation that way, that see it as hey, we've got to survive long enough to give the football back to the other team via the punt. That's just not the way the game is played at the college level anymore. And I think recruits are going to pay attention to that and notice that, and whether or not the players end up changing, or the coaches end up changing their philosophy the longer that they are coaching in college. And again, I don't think that Bill Belichick experiment lasts longer than a year, but that's neither here nor there. At some point in the college football season, you can't just give up on every 3rd down that's like 3rd and 7 or longer, because you're just not going to be successful. You have to figure something else out. So to me, that's the bad. And the ugly, and this I don't think has anything to do with Bill Belichick or his coaching ability or anything like that. The players in North Carolina just aren't that good. There's just not a lot of talent on that roster. Pete Thamel was talking about in the pregame show that, hey, there are a bunch of NFL scouts here, and they ain't here for North Carolina. They believe there might be 2 players on that roster who are going to get drafted after this season. 2. And that's might get drafted. Now, potentially spending a year with a bunch of guys who have coached in the NFL for a long time, maybe get them developed, maybe they improve, maybe that number becomes 3 or 4 instead of 2. But you got 2 potential future NFL players on your roster. That's not a great recipe for success in a Power 4 program, especially one that came in with the hype, attention that hiring Bill Belichick is undeniably going to bring to that program. Their players just aren't good enough. And not only are their players not good enough, the players at TCU were decidedly better. Distinctively better. Unabashedly better. And when you were in a spot where the players at TCU are far and away more talented and developed than what you have on your roster, I think it's going to be a long year in Chapel Hill. And whether or not that's a fair gauge of Bill Belichick's ability as a college coach probably isn't the best judge of that situation, because the players just aren't that good. But it's clear that I think, barring just an absolute coaching miracle, and if Bill Belichick can pull off that coaching miracle, if he can get them to, I genuinely, I think getting to a bowl game is a win in year number one after what you saw on Monday night. And I'm certain that Bill Belichick didn't get into the college football game to view success as making it to the Duke's Mayonnaise Bowl. But I don't think that's an outlandish goal to try to reach for North Carolina in 2025. That's just where they are right now. And whether they can get past that, I think it's a rush to judgment to argue anything else. But there was some good. You could see that there was a game plan coming in. And I think that game plan was a good one. And that's going to be a strength of their program going forward, is the ability to game plan, put together a script of this is how we are going to be successful, because those coaches have done it at the highest level of the sport for decades. They've just got to find a way to make that game plan almost foolproof, because the talent just flat out is not there in Chapel Hill. That'll do it for today's episode of the Daily Huddle. Appreciate you making us a part of your day, however it is, wherever it is you're doing so. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're getting all the great college football content we're pumping out. If you're listening on the podcast feed, drop a 5-star review. It goes a long way in helping out the channel. I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of the Daily Huddle.